So I have two lovely guests with me this morning. They are my junior. I love to say that because they are wonderful to work with. Good morning to you, lady and gentlemen. How are you?
Good morning, Corporal Grant and the listening public. I'm good.
Good morning, Couple Grants. I'm good as well.
Right. So your listeners are already listening. You're already tuned in. They are hearing you, and they're also seeing you all. So go ahead, greet our listeners. It's Real FM 91.9. You have the opportunity to speak to your listeners by greeting them this morning.
Good morning once again. I am Woman Police Constable number 575, Brown, presently attached to the Petty Investigations Department at the Granville Police Station.
Good morning, listeners. I am Constable 276 George, currently attached to the Granville Police Station, Petty Investigation Department.
So listeners, they both are from Petty Investigation Department. And as much as it is trivial, or petty as we would say, they are very important. They are important staff. So we just what happened there with my thing? I'm looking for my theme song and my boss did something else on it. Let me see if I can get back to that. Okay, we'll continue because we're ready. But if Mr. Von Joseph is listening, I need to get my theme song up. I don't understand the screen that you give me. Grateful. Thank you. So listeners, we'll take a brief with our theme song, Keturah George, and we'll be right back. And we would flow this morning straight into our conversation. Okay, so let's take a brief with our theme song.
Walking on eggshells for you, we never get it right. It's not just the criminals, but society gives the biggest fight. Unwarranted slander we endure every day. You say police is police just for the government's pay. Oh gosh, I put you before my family. With my life I protect you daily, but before I make a flaw, you're ready to hang the stewards of the law. Remember when they kill Renty, you said I'm police too choky. No man fights with police and dead. You say the force is where killers are bred. So when I hear you complaining, I have to agree. Is you society guilty of police brutality against
Yes, against we. Is it we the police or we in terms of the community? I'm not sure. But what I do know, there is no level of brutality. It is the police and the community working together. The community and the police working together. And this is called community policing. And of course, you know, I always say to you on a Wednesday morning, if you see something, if you hear something, if you know something, we ask of you to say something. And in so doing, it helps us to solve a crime. It helps us as law enforcement to detect a crime. And it also helps us as law enforcement to make you safe and to make you happy. Because when that crime is reported, it is giving you satisfaction to some extent. And I love to take that opportunity to give kudos to my colleagues, especially at the Granville Police Station, where we, for the longest while, we had been battling with some issues of breaking. And when I say breaking of different type, house breaking and stealing, burglary. We even had robbery with violence. Guys was just meeting persons at nights and sticking them up with various weapons. And, you know, kudos to CID Petty and other officers attached to the Granville Police Station for that breakthrough. And those of us who is following social media and also that of the news, you would realize that there were 6 males. There were 2 juveniles. They went to the juvenile center, and there were 4 adults. There is still 1 at large. I'm not certain if there is a wanted man notice outside in that regard, but there is one man or at large that my colleagues are looking for. And before the program end, I would seek some clarification or confirmation whether or not I can disclose his name if there is a wanted man outside for him, so that you all listeners can assist us, because we know he's going through the community. It's just that we are not seeing him at the moment, but whoever is harboring him, it is an offense. So you would know who it is before the program is over, so that we can continue to work collaboratively as we make our community safe for one and all. To our students who have completed CPEA, we say kudos to you, parents and teachers. Let us hope for the best. And may those who applied themselves well, let justice prevail as they elevate in their academic career. However, this morning, we're speaking of case file preparation on receipt of a complaint to the magistrate court. So what we're saying is that from the time we as police officers get a complaint, or you come to the police station and make a report, what happens from there? From that moment you get into the station, you make a report onto the magistrate court. Between the two of you, Madam Sir, who would like to start? It's just an open question. What happens when Tom walks into the station and they make a complaint and they say, I want to go to the police station?
Okay, so briefly, normally what is done, persons may give a report which may lead to a statement. Then investigations continue based on the information provided by that complainant. During that investigations, based on the information received by that investigating officer, the information will be compiled, placed in what we call a case file, sent to the prosecution department, and the prosecutors are the one responsible for presenting that matter before the magistrate.
Wow, so that's a lot. And I, as a layman who is not within the police department, there's a lot I'm wondering, what's she really talking about? So, right. So you're given the whole process in one mouthful. Let's break it down and dissect it. So when our complainants or our victims come to the station, they are better able to cooperate, because they have a better understanding as to how important their statement or report is to us in order to transit it to the magistrate court. So coming to the station and wanting to give a report for court purposes and a statement needs to be obtained, what should really happen?
So I believe that person should know the difference between their statement and the report.
Continue.
A report is brief information. The officer may ask you your name, your occupation, where do you live, the name of the person you're complaining against, and somewhat just brief. In terms of a statement, now, a statement is a more detailed report. I cannot tell you what color form it may be recording on, because the color of the form varies. But the information that is needed from you, the officer may ask you again your name, your alias, your number, your address, and then the officer might, what we call the preambles as police officers, may ask you a little background as to where do you live, who do you live with. Before going into that, the importance of the preambles, I must say, is for the process server. That person is the one who really serve you summons based on the nature of the report that is brought before the court. So that is still helping us to find you. That is also helping us as officers getting necessary information like your name and etc. what I just mentioned. In terms of survey being done, because most of the statistics come from us as the police officers. Now, during that statement, the officer recording the statement from you may ask you, okay, description of that person.
Right.
How do you know that person? you may not know the correct name, but you may know them by some other name, you know, alias or some family name. Who does that person relate to? What type of relationship does you and that person have? Now, persons may tend to say that statements is a bit long and time consuming based on the minutes or the hours that is required of you to sit and give that statement. Now, I want persons to understand that we as the investigating officers need that information to assist in carrying out proper investigation for your matter to go before the court as requested by you. We don't want you to come sit, give a statement, and then have to return to give additional information.
Right.
We need to get it at first. We don't want you to come and give the story over and over. We need you to tell us everything that you know. Too much information is never too much for us, you know. So we ask that you be cooperative. You understand what the police needs from you. The reason why we are doing it is to help you bring your matter before the court as you requested. In terms of that statement, now, we as police officers, we know the necessary information that we need.
Right.
So you may say to us, for example, you know of a neighbor having surveillance cameras. Now, the police officer might ask you, do you know which direction the camera is faced?
Right.
Or he or she herself might ask you, do you know of any surveillance cameras around?
Right.
You know, and the reason we asking that is because sometimes you may be the one reporting, but you may not know the exact time of the offense. You may not know exactly who did committed the offense.
Right.
So that is one of the reasons why we ask you to be more detailed for us. Understand that we are just doing our jobs. That is what is required of us. The next important thing I want persons to know is that in a statement, you are required to sign at the end of it. And that is one of the questions they may ask you when you come to the station and you say, I give a report to the police. Did you sign to it? Persons may say, well, nobody didn't make me sign. Then you know what? It was not a statement that was recorded from you for court proceedings.
Right.
You need to sign, place your signature. You're required to sign 3 times. If you realize that you didn't sign, you ask the officer, why I'm not signing? I ask for a statement to be recorded and not a report. So I need the listening public to know the difference. When you make a report, the officer, yes, you may take the same information, but a statement is more of a detailed report. And you are required to sign at the end of it.
So while I do not want to go too deeply into the statement aspect, because I know that can be a whole conversation in and of itself as to taking matters to court, which would be our topic next week, God's will, not for you, some other department. In regards to case file preparation, how important is that for our complainants, and what are some of the documents that is needed to be in that? So you can give examples in terms of offenses to bring it to light for our listeners so that they would understand. So if I come and say, well, my window in my house was broken, and I come and I notice my pipe that is close to the road is broken, and I was told that John Public did it, you may ask me for value to bring in a invoice, and to me, I am already irate, so I don't see the importance. So I'm just using that as an example so you understand the information that I want you to give to our listeners.
Okay, so based on the offense, as you stated, it requires different documents. For instance, a causing harm offense would require someone to the file would be accompanied with a medical form.
Right.
And the medical form would be signed by a medical practitioner. And since that person is the professional in that field, they would write their findings on that medical form.
Right.
So therefore, the officers now would know what offense we'll be charging for. Because although it's a harm offense, there are different offenses that we could charge for, seeing that it's a harm offense. So the more severe the injuries are, it will determine what charge that person would receive.
Right.
For instance, causing harm, there is wounding, there is grievous harm. So there are different levels to harm offenses. If it is a damage to property offense, like
Right.
the window in your instance, that person will have to come with a valuation.
How do I achieve that?
Okay, so you would go to one of the companies, local companies in Grenada that would be selling the product, and you ask them for an estimate as to the cost of that
Right.
item. And they would come in the session with that piece of paper, and it will be attached to the statement.
Okay.
It goes before the prosecutor, and he would be the one reviewing that valuation, and he would be informing the magistrate as to the cost of that item.
Right.
Yes.
Just to add to my colleague, in terms of the where you bring in a valuation of items, I want persons to understand that based on the section that we charge under,
Right.
the wording is required that we put a value to
Okay.
that item.
Right.
So it's not that we just want to know how much for the item, but we needed to include it in that charge as to based on the requirement of the section of law, that the costing of that item, whether it may be stolen or damaged,
Right.
it needs to be included. So we need persons, and we as the police officers, persons might say, go and get the value yourself. We want you to understand it's your item.
Right.
You are the one best to go within that company and look at it. Although, yes, we visit the site where photographs are normally taken. We expect for you to go in and look at it and say, okay, this is one I have home. This is the one best suited for me. This is the
Right.
one to be replaced.
Right.
And we don't want to give a value to it. And when the matter reaches court, you tell the magistrate, well, I didn't pay
All that.
$300
That's
for my
right.
phone. So we take it upon you to go and get your valuation yourself, as we request of you.
But added to that, it's not just for the value, because sometimes I had that window since my house was built in 1990, but now they no longer make those windows. So what do I best fit closest to what was
What
there?
was there.
And that would cause for value variation. It would cause for replacement of type, and all of that would be noted. And it's only you best to give that information.
Yes.
So apart from damage to property and causing harm, stealing offenses, what other documents are needed in a case file that you would need the cooperation of your complainant or victim?
So, based on, I'm trying to get an offense so then persons may understand.
Right.
So, besides the larceny offenses and damage to property, it have times where we include photographs
Right.
as well into our file. Not only photographs, it have times where we may include, well, it may not be included in the file, but video footage may
Right.
come out in evidence.
Right.
And we want persons to understand that as well. You know, persons who may have camera footage and is not willing to share the footage with persons, we need to understand that you're assisting the police a lot in investigations.
Right.
All right. So it depends based on the offense, what is required.
Right.
What is the points to prove the offenses? Now, as the officer said, in terms of a causing harm, we are police officers. We are not experts in the medical field.
That's it.
Now, at the end of, normally, once the facts is brought out in those matters, the magistrate will ask for the level of the injury.
Right.
And in our cases, doctors don't normally come in to give evidence in the magistrate court
Right.
in petty offenses, causing harm, wounding.
Right.
So the prosecutor is the one to read the findings written by the doctor
Okay.
after that medical form was tendered in evidence as to the severity of the injury.
Right.
You know, that may result in compensation to the or the nature of the charge based on the court.
Right.
Now I also want persons to know, even if you had got injured by someone, that doesn't mean you cannot come to the station and request a medical form.
Right.
Person may say too late. But if you seek medical at the time of the offense, you can always come in. A medical form can be issued to you. You can return to that medical practitioner, wherever you went to, private or doctor or hospital, and let it write as to the time they saw you on that.
I want you to repeat that and use, as one of my colleagues, Tufo Antoine would say, use the language of the people. Don't come and tell me medical practitioner and return to the... Talk to our listeners. Real FM is a radio station that meets the layman on the street. So I want down to the farmer, the fisherman who is listening to us this morning, the bus conductor, can understand if I was in a situation 2 months ago, 3 weeks ago, and I didn't come to the police at the time, but whatever now, and I was injured, I did see the doctor, but I didn't see the need for taking the matter to court. However, whatever causes me to go to court, I can still proceed. So I want you to repeat that information and use language that our listeners would understand.
So I'm glad you raised that point, Corporal Grant. In terms of, you said 2-3 months within that time span. Now, one person to know we work with a statute of limitation period. There is a time span in which the police can act on your behalf.
Right.
Anything past that time span, we want persons to understand you may have to go civil, meaning you might have to get your lawyer on your own and fight that matter yourself.
Okay. Then.
Based on the nature of the offense.
All right.
Now, in terms of causing harm, wounding, those offenses, we have a 3-month period.
3 months.
Larceny offenses, which is stealing, any stealing offense, we have a 6 months period.
Okay. Then.
Damage to property also fall under the 3-month period.
Right.
Now, back to that point. Once you were injured, so you're injured, say, 2 months from now.
Right. 2 months
ago.
Right.
So you had an injury in March. We are now in April.
With me.
Sorry.
Right.
I want persons to know, once something arises and you believe that you need to go to the police,
right.
Maybe you and the person have decided, okay, you know what, I hit you, I'm going to compensate you. And you realize that, you know what, the 2-month period has passed and nothing. You have 1 more month for the police to assist you.
Right.
You can simply come to the police, go to the front desk, whoever officer you speak to,
right.
Explain to them, hey, I had a situation 2 months ago where a gentleman struck me, maybe on my forehead, maybe whatever it is, and I am now requesting that the matter goes to court.
Right.
You will not be turned down.
Right. Oh, you should not be turned down.
Not be turned down.
Okay.
Now, that officer will issue you a medical form. That is what we have as police officers. We normally have our own forms. They're going to ask you your information, when did it happen, and they will record it on that form. They will tell you to go back to whoever doctor you have seen.
Right.
In some cases, persons haven't gone to the doctors, but they are the professionals. They can look at a scan and say what they see and record it as well. So you'll go back to that doctor, let the doctor know you are not requesting that you want to go to court with that person, and the doctor will normally write up the information on the day he saw you.
Right.
What did he notice? And you will return that form to us.
Good.
Now, you have times where, because it's not life-threatening, the officer may ask you if you want to record that statement at the time the medical form is issued to you.
Right.
It's your decision. We just want you to know that the time we're working with. So yes, you may go to the doctor, get it right up. Sometimes, based on the hospital will normally say, leave it, the police will pick it up.
Okay.
That's okay. We normally have a good relationship with the emergency department at the Princess Alice Hospital, where the medical forms are kept for us.
Okay.
So that's okay as well. You just need to let us know that the medical form is at that office. And you come in and you give your statement requesting court action.
Right.
Now, persons need to understand that if you does not say that you want court action, We as investigators receiving that statement may call you and ask you, what is it that you want?
Right.
Because at the time you may tell the officer who's recording statement, I'm not sure.
Right.
So they may not put something at the end of that statement. They may ask you, do you want it for a warning? Do you want it for future reference?
Okay.
And do you want it for court action? That's it. 3 things. Persons may not understand what the police is saying at the point in time. But normally it's explained to you. Court action is quite clear-cut. You want the matter to go to court. Future reference is you made a complaint in case. Something that you can follow up on in the future. You know? And warning, we speak to that person. Sometimes we have a sitting with you and the accused person based on your request. So we need you to say that you need court action. We as the investigators may call you and they may get aggravated and say, well, I give this statement already. What you calling me for? Do you work? But we need you to let us know that you need court action in the matter.
Right. So this
something I want to add
Sure,
to,
go
Papa.
right ahead.
Someone might come into the station and they were issued with a medical form.
Right.
They brought that form to the doctor. However, the doctor handed it back to them.
Right.
They probably would go home with that form and misplace that form.
Right.
And for some reason, they're scared to come to the station and say, officer, I had a medical form and I lost that medical form. It's
Right.
okay to come back to the station and get another medical form. We would issue it back to you
Right.
and give you the same procedure for you to go and get doctor and then to come back to the station.
So
that's something to know
listeners, it is for you. So I don't want persons to remain in community, within society and neighborhood and take the law into their own hand because Tom injured me, Jane injured me, and no justice was sought. He said he would have paid me 2 months past, he didn't pay me. If you were to do compensation arrangement between yourselves, you need to work that within your statute of limitation. And you can also come to the police, make a report, and say, you know what, myself and him or her is in conversation in regards to compensation. So at the moment, we have that period of time. If it does not work out, I'll be back. But the earlier you get to us, it's okay. It's even okay to say, well, officer, if I get compensation or if I get back my item, I do not want court action. And because we work within a window, expiry date, statute of limitation, you can be accommodated. But please, don't come to us the day before the 90 days, so the 89th day, and expect for police to work miracle. Remember, everything have an expiration. So what we'll do, we'll take a brief one with Keturah Judge, and we'll be right back with the conversation with the RGPF. We're talking of the importance of case file preparation to taking your matter to the court. So what cooperation do we need from you? What are some of the documents you need to give the police so that your matter could go to court? And when we're back, there is something I wanted to hear from the officers and I didn't hear it. So on our resumption, I would ask them, because you need to know how important is your case file for the defense side and how honest and open you need to be at the early stage so that your case file oftentimes reach in the hands of the lawyer who is working for the defense. And that's due process. We'll be back with the conversation with the RGPF.
I put you before my family. With my life I protect you daily. But before I make a flaw, you're ready to hand this to a daddy law. Remember when they kill Brenty, you said I'm police too choky. No man fights with police and dead. You say the force is where killers are bred. So when I hear you complaining, I have to agree. Is you society guilty of police brutality against me? The brutal society brutal. Oh gosh, they brutal. My society brutal. Police here have to tiptoe, good lord. We afraid to mash your corner, cause you're in waiting like Mako to dish out disdain, slander, and scorn when you sleep at night time. Police up, we fighting crime.
be always present on the street. If you go to Granville now, you're going to see some of my colleagues. You're going to terminal, of course, you're going to see us. And if you come to Sates, where I am at the moment, you will see us also. Because after all, the community and the police working together. Hence I say, you see something, know something, say something. So that we can continue to live in a crime-free community. The fear of crime is worse than the commission of crime. All right, so this morning we're not discussing crime as a topic, but we're discussing the importance of case file preparation to your matter going to the magistrate court. And my guest in studio is WPC Brown and Constable George, fine officers within the petty investigation. I'm a bit biased to them, I must admit. They are wonderful officers. So before we took the break, yes, I was making a point as to what are the relevance or the relationship with a case file and the defense side. Can anybody address that?
Okay, so first of all, when someone is charged at the police station, it doesn't matter. That person will be issued or they will be given copies of the charges.
Right.
Or charge. And if their intention is to get a lawyer, they will present the copies of the charges or the charge to the lawyer.
Right.
And in the court, the lawyer can make application for the disclosure from the prosecutor. And therefore, the prosecutor would, any other file that the prosecutor thinks that the defense would need in terms of the statement that was given and possible witness statements or photographs or whatever the case may be, the prosecutor would give that to the defense, and it is common procedure.
Okay.
Sometimes the application is made in the court, and most times the lawyer would receive that file in the court as well.
Right.
So he would review that file, and he will be better able to advise his client as to what plea he or she should make,
Right.
or the decision or the direction in which they should take in defending that matter before the court.
Right.
Just to add, normally when persons come in to give a complaint, doesn't mean because you are the one that comes in, means that the police is going to go based on what you say. You give us information for us to investigate.
Right.
Now, most times persons may come in, give a statement and say to the police, well, I am the complainant.
Right.
But remember, when you give that statement, the police use your words to go out and carry out investigation. And additional statements may be obtained based on witnesses, person's name you may mention during your
Right.
statement. And you have times where we get different stories based on what the complainant give and realize, you know what? Maybe charges may not be preferred against the person they complain against.
Right.
You know, so persons have to be careful. Part of the certification, we make sure that persons know that what they say is true, and it will be used for prosecution, whether you lie for us or not. That is just in short, layman terms, what I'm saying.
Right.
So you need to tell the truth.
Right.
Remember, you're signing to that document.
And there's an
You're
oath.
placing your signature there, make it an official document that can be used against you as well. Now, when that defendant, the accused person, the person you're complaining against, in terms of harm offenses, we normally arrest those persons.
Right.
We're not just going to arrest that person based on what you say. When the person comes in, they have rights as well. We're going to read them their rights, let them know they're entitled to a lawyer, they're entitled to anyone that they can get advice to.
Right.
And those persons may call the lawyer at hand. Officer, I have a lawyer, let me speak to my lawyer. Now, you as the investigator, that is why we normally detain persons after investigation.
Right.
Because that lawyer needs the information from you as the police. Now, you may say, sir, I have your client here for causing harm to John Doe. You know, he may say, what is the nature of it? Then you say to him, then he's going to speak to his client. Now, most lawyers, I must say, may tell a client to cooperate with the police.
Right.
Now, it have cases where what we call interviews and statements. That person that is their choice, what they want to give. I'm talking about the accused person.
Right.
Now, that is giving the person the opportunity to tell their side of the story. So we want you to know, if John Doe didn't hit you with a cutlass, don't say hit you with a cutlass.
Right.
Because that's going to be an additional charge for John Doe. You know, be honest. Be honest, let the police know what. I don't know what John Doe hit me with. You may never know. John Doe might be just honest enough to say, officer, I hit him with a cutlass.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to understand it's not only your statement, but the accused statement as well. And when that lawyer apply for disclosure, his client's statement will be given as well with your statement. So he'll do the comparison.
Copper, one more thing. I want to advise complainants that giving a false report is also an arrestable offense.
You couldn't say nothing else. You could never have such a conversation and don't put that in. And it was timely. Because you know what, listeners? Our hour is almost wind down on us. But of course, and hence the reason why when statements are done, there is a certification at the end of it, testing your honesty and where you vouch that the information you give is truthful and to the best of your knowledge and belief. And if you deliberately lie, you can and will be prosecuted. I have known of persons who was and have been charged for giving false reports or statements to the police. So yes, as usual, I know it's not getting comfortable and the information start flowing because you all like seeing my face, but your hour is over. So just take a few seconds, and we go mail down. We're going according to seniority now. So, Constable George, any parting words that you would like to leave with your listeners this morning as it regards to petty investigation in general?
Well, in general, I just want to say that the police, we are here to serve the public, and we wish to provide the best service for you. And I want to let the public know that whenever they come into the police station to give a report or to give a statement, that they should feel comfortable and be truthful as possible. As possible. So, yes.
Thank you so much, brother. Yes, ma'am.
To add with my colleague, I just want persons to know that we are the investigators. We are at your service. And you may have times where you may believe that, your investigation are not going fast enough, but we want you to know that we are trying to get the best for you so that when your case is being presented at the magistrate court, it is the best of quality and representative on your behalf.
Wow. Listeners, you understand why I say I love them and I have that level of bias towards them? They are just good. And they are a team, my colleague. And if I may add to my colleague, it's only teamwork that afford that. And yes, we as officers, we do have that level of relationship where we look out for each other. But this has brought us to the end of the conversation with our RGPF, and it's from the Eastern Division. I was your humble servant, Jessel Grant, Corporal of Police. Hello, I can't leave without reminding you. If you hear something, see something, know something, I urge of you to say something. In so doing, we can solve a crime. We can make our community crime-free. Right? And as I say, the fear of crime is worse than the commission. How do I leave without saying good morning to my favorite listeners? Yes, Lynn Chateau St. James. My favorite listener, La Poetry. I don't know when you would allow me to say your name, but good morning. And to all of you, Stephen, Francis, good morning. It has been a privilege, and it is the end of this week's conversation with the RGPF, and we had discussed case file preparation to take into the magistrate court. So when you hear of a lawyer saying this is not what was disclosed to me, don't think the prosecutor did anything underhand. It is court process and part of the procedure that your file, the information that you, the complainant, give, you, the victim, give to the police will be disclosed to the defense side. So have a wonderful morning until next week, God's will, when we will be back with another conversation with the RGPF. Bye for now. God bless you. Stay safe, stay cool, and let us continue to work together as we declare Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique the safe place for one and all.
Police walking on eggshells for you. We never get it right. It's not just the criminals, but society.